Today we are going to talk about Naamah, a character mentioned in the Holy Scriptures of the Old Testament of the Bible. Naamah was an Ammonite princess, the daughter of Ramam, the king of the Ammonites. Her story appears in the first book of Kings, chapter 14, verses 21 and 31. According to the biblical account, Naamah became the wife of King Solomon, the legendary king of Israel known for his great wisdom, wealth, and power. Naamah's life is surrounded by mystery. However, by analyzing the biblical texts and some Jewish traditions, it is possible to better understand the context of her story and her influence. But before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, because this helps a lot in sharing this kind of content with more people. As the daughter of a king, Naamah grew up in an environment of luxury, power, and privilege. Her marriage to Solomon, one of the most influential rulers in the history of Israel, was undoubtedly an event of great political and diplomatic importance. However, this union also raised many concerns. This is because the Ammonites had a long history of rivalry with the Israelites. According to biblical tradition, they were descendants of Lot, the nephew of Abraham, yet conflicts between the two peoples occurred throughout history. Because of this, Solomon's marriage to Naamah was criticized by many Israelites, especially the more conservative ones, who feared that this union could compromise the religious and cultural purity of Israel. Even before this marriage, Solomon had already married the daughter of a pharaoh of Egypt, which was considered a common diplomatic marriage between kingdoms. However, over time, Solomon began to become involved with many foreign women from different nations and cultures, including Naamah. The major problem was that Solomon lost control. The Bible reports in 1 Kings, chapter 11, verse 3, that he had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines. Even after receiving advice and warnings about the danger of these alliances, Solomon did not take them seriously and continued to involve himself with women from different nations, such as Moabites, Ammonites, and Hittites, who followed other religions and worshipped foreign gods. Among all these women, Solomon seems to have developed a strong affection for Naamah. This love crossed the cultural and political barriers of the time, but it also brought serious consequences. Influenced by his foreign wives, Solomon began to allow the worship of other gods in Israel, following the customs of those nations. This decision ended up compromising the religious principles that were fundamental to the people of Israel. The story of Solomon became a striking example of how even a wise leader can stray when he allows external influences to change his heart. At the beginning of his reign, Solomon was known for his devotion to God. However, over time he gave in to the influence of his foreign wives and even built altars for their gods. Interestingly, the Bible had already warned about this danger. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 17, it is written that the kings of Israel should not have many wives, because this could lead them into spiritual corruption. Even though he was an extremely wise man, Solomon ended up ignoring this warning. His wisdom, however, became famous through several well-known stories. One of the most famous tells of two women who were disputing the motherhood of a baby. Solomon suggested dividing the child in half. Immediately, one of the women begged the king not to harm the child and asked that the baby be given to the other woman. Through this reaction, Solomon discovered who the true mother was. In addition, Solomon was known for his wisdom in many other areas, from understanding nature to composing proverbs and songs, many of which are recorded in the Bible, especially in the books of Proverbs and the Song of Songs. Despite all this wisdom, his spiritual decisions brought consequences for the future of Israel. According to prophecy, the kingdom would eventually be divided after his death. A leader named Jeroboam would rule 10 tribes of Israel, while only a portion of the kingdom would remain under the rule of Solomon's descendants. When Solomon learned about this prophecy, he began to see Jeroboam as a threat and tried to have him killed. But Jeroboam managed to escape. After Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam became king. However, his leadership was marked by poor decisions. He increased taxes and ignored the complaints of the people, which eventually caused a major rebellion. As a result, the kingdom was divided into 2. The kingdom of Israel in the north, led by Jeroboam, and the kingdom of Judah in the south, ruled by Rehoboam. This event became known as the division of the kingdom of Israel, a period marked by political and religious conflicts. To prevent the people from continuing to go to Jerusalem to worship, Jeroboam made a controversial decision. He ordered the creation of 2 golden calves, placing them on altars in the cities of Bethel and Dan, encouraging the people to worship them. This act marked a period of great idolatry in the history of Israel. One day, while Jeroboam was offering sacrifices at one of these altars, a prophet appeared and announced that in the future a descendant of David would destroy those pagan altars. Centuries later, this prophecy was fulfilled when King Josiah carried out religious reforms and destroyed those places of idolatry. The story of Naamah and Solomon teaches us something very important. Even wise and powerful leaders can fall into error when they allow external influences to affect their faith and their principles. Solomon's decision to allow the worship of foreign gods marked the beginning of a period of spiritual decline and political conflict that eventually led to the division of the kingdom of Israel. This story invites us to reflect on the influences that shape our own decisions and on the importance of remaining firm in our values, even in the face of pressures and temptations. Leave your opinion here in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos about incredible stories from the Bible. See you in the next video. Sparkle's Open Book.